Howdy there, folks. How are y'all doing? My name is Reese, and welcome back to our Tekkit to the Moon Let's Play Adventure extravaganza of awesomeness and fun times to be had here in the wonderful world of Minecraft. And today, we're going to, first off, start processing some of these ores that I've got lying around. Toss all of those in there and get them going. Then we need to clean out our inventory, which is full of stuff. Oh no, that's not good. We've run out of space for cobblestone. Well, we sort of knew that was going to happen eventually, didn't we? We kind of knew that we weren't going to fit all of our cobblestone in there. I'm actually starting a bit later on this recording than I had hoped. I'd sort of planned it all out, and unfortunately, things have gone awry. So I'm having a problem, and this has been a problem since I started recording, but it's not a problem any of you will be familiar with, because it doesn't manifest in the videos, as far as I can tell. It doesn't, like, go to the capture card. It's just on the screen I'm recording on, in addition to it occasionally being obscenely, absurdly, ridiculously dark, to a point where I can't see certain things, like that corner. I can't see what's over there. You can. But aside from that, and me not being able to fix it via, the basic sort of things that you would do to fix it, like, straight up just adjusting the settings and whatnot. Aside from that being a problem, I'm also having a problem with, there's this just line that appears towards the top of the screen, and it's just like a line of the pixels just suddenly shifting to green, and it only does it on the PC, because I play Switch on this screen as well. And really any game that I play. It doesn't do it constantly, it's just every few seconds. I mean, I know that VSync isn't working, but I think that's just a Minecraft Java problem, because I can load up any other game and the VSync works fine. Sorry, by the way, for the screen tearing, but this isn't screen tearing. It seems to be in the same place every time. And at first I thought it was my display, but it literally cannot be my display, because it doesn't do it on any other input. Unless it doesn't like the input it's receiving from my PC, which is perfectly possible. But, I don't know. It's real annoying. Is my graphics card dying? I don't think so. Graphics card seems to be working fine. You can't see it. Again, I'm talking about it. You can't see it. If you've had an issue like this, where like most of the pixels in a single row suddenly will just flash green, every few seconds. If you could give me some feedback on that, that'd be swell, so I can try to get that fixed, because it's real annoying. And most things in this series, we've just sort of, brushed past. Like, whatever. What are we going to do about a problem like that? What does it matter? So it can't capture at the best resolution and frame rates and settings and all that. What does it matter? This is all temporary anyway. This is a ship that I built out of cardboard so I could sail from one island to the next with no intentions of sailing back, right? Like, we've known from the start of this endeavor that I've just come to finish what I started, and once I've done that, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm going. So what does it matter? Well, I'll tell you what it matters. Unlike everything else about this setup that we've got, I actually primarily play games with this setup, Since we dissolved the Howdy Folks Empire and the old setup's been obliterated, it's gone, there we go. That's how you turn that off. Need to remember that in the future. I've got this whole new space I'm working with, and I do like to play video games. Even though I'm not recording them anymore, I do like to play them. And if this is going to be a problem, Valhalla's going to come out. Of course I'm going to get it on PC. I won't be playing it with a green line streaking through it every so often. So this is something, and I know it's been a big distraction now. We've talked about it possibly too much, far more than most of you will care, and that is okay. I wanted to see if anyone out there had experienced this phenomenon, if you could comment on it. Something's been happening in the world that has really been irritating me. Many of you will know, possibly by now, you managed to procure a pre-order for a PS5. The luck rate on that has varied drastically. Really depends on a variety of factors, such as, were you using bots? And the answer to that question will almost certainly determine whether or not you got one. I wasn't, so I didn't, but I'd like one. But just sort of in passing, I've been I haven't been talking to anyone, but I've been sort of keeping up with what's being discussed in a variety of locations about these new consoles, and I've just seen the fanboyism. It's risen. It's back. I don't want the jetpack on. And I just wanted to make some comments because I've gone back and I've been watching, videos that pertain to console releases of the past and, taking notes and reflecting on things. And I wanted to bring back the conversation about how much I freaking hate fanboys just for a moment. I just want to come back to this. That was the wrong button. Talk for a second. I know we've talked about it, but my gosh, let's real quickly, I want to recap sort of great launches of the past as well as bad launches of the past, because there's a note that I want to touch on. There's something I want to say because I think that it's really relevant for a lot of young folk today. And let's go back to Sony, right? And the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation, big deal, lots of money, very successful. PlayStation 2, once again, absolutely huge. Everybody owned the PlayStation 2. I still own a PlayStation 2. I'd argue most people still own a PlayStation 2. It's a great system. Sony, going into the PlayStation 3, real arrogant. Really arrogant. They think they can do whatever they want. So they release a system, and they charge $600? Was that right? It was. I think you could get one model for $500, if I'm not mistaken. It was the 20 gig model for $500, and the 60 gig model for $600. But I might actually be wrong. I can't quite recall, but it could have very well been that it was $600 and $700. But I think it was $500 and $600 for these things. And of course, they were the laughingstock of the gaming world for a long time after that, because no one wants a console with a freaking compact flash card reader. It's not necessary, and no one wants to pay that much money for it. And why did Sony think they could do it? Sony thought they could do it because they had the clout. They're like, look at us. We made the most powerful and successful systems of all time. You saw how great the PlayStation was. You've got no choice but to give us more money for another one. And they used the ridiculous Cell processor, not because it was superior to just your basic, x86 processing, but because they thought, oh, well, yeah, it'll be more difficult for people to write to because no one understands it, but we're a PlayStation. People will deal with it, and they won't have time for Xbox. They were very arrogant. They were very, very arrogant, and it bit them in the butt. And in order to recover from it, they had to release a slim model with a big price cut. And you might be trying to figure out, Reese, where is this going? Well, now we get to Microsoft. Trust me, we're going to get somewhere with this. Microsoft kicks off the next gen. Xbox One. Riding high on the success of the 360. Now, the 360 trounced the PS3 in the beginning, but Sony started making good decisions, and they actually caught up. And I think in terms of total units sold, they actually ended up surpassing Xbox right there at the end. But the Wii crushed both of them. So it's a bit of a wash, really, when you consider the fact that the Wii outsold both of those systems in droves. It's nuts. But my point is, they went into it with the same energy that Sony had going into the generation beforehand. There goes my torch, by the way. Oh my gosh. I gotta do something about this. Enable hover mode. So they go in and they're like, hey, we're going to charge $100 more than Sony for our system, mainly because you have to buy it with the frickin' Kinect. You got to get it with you have no choice. You have to buy it with a Kinect, and yeah, you got to keep the Kinect in there, little NSA box, and you'll pay more for it because, we're Xbox. We're the biggest thing in gaming. Screw you. And, oh, you want to sell your used games? Well, there's going to be a fee for if you want to play online on that used game that you bought. EA tried to do this by themselves, and it didn't pan out, but we're going to do it system-wide. And what happened? What happened? They did all this stuff. Sony came out and just made fun of them at their press conference with that great ad of, hey, here's how you share games on the PS4, and they just hand one box copy to the other, and they're like, hey, it's $100 less because we don't have an NSA spy camera built in that you have to buy and use. And Microsoft, they were trounced this generation. They were crushed, and they started making some good decisions, much like Sony last time. Towards the end of the generation, you got, Project X Cloud, you got the game streaming service. They're doing a lot of things right. I think they've got a solid future ahead of them. Microsoft, the multi-billion-dollar company, has a solid future ahead of them. I'm willing to say that. But the point I'm getting at is this. There were people, when the PS3 launched, when it was announced, when all the nonsense associated with it were released, there were people who said, hey, you shut up about this, because Sony's the greatest company ever, and PlayStation's the greatest console ever, and if you don't buy the PS3 because of the price, then you're poor, or because you disagree with their business decisions, then you're just an idiot. You got to buy it. We have a term for people like these. We call them fanboys. They're people who will support a product, sometimes one they don't even own, to an almost religious degree, ignoring all of its faults and rewarding their bad behavior. Think about that. Everything Sony did with the PS3 was bad behavior, and people still supported it and worshipped the ground that Sony walked on with that console. Now, fortunately, not a lot of people did, because most people aren't fanboys. I know it seems that way when you go on your Reddits and your Twitters and your YouTube comment sections. Most people aren't fanboys, and that's good, because when you're a fanboy, you refuse to acknowledge the mistakes that a company makes with a product or a brand that you like, and you end up rewarding, through the spending of your money, those bad decisions that actually negatively impact you. And that's not smart. Thank God enough people weren't fanboys. I mean, Microsoft had their fanboys. Oh, you guys are dumb. You got to buy your Xbox One. It's the greatest thing ever. Microsoft's the greatest thing ever. And if you don't buy the Xbox One, you're dumb. And the Kinect's probably going to be the best thing ever. It's just this mindless, tribal BS. But thankfully, those people are in a minority. And I say thankfully because think about this. Think about this. What if everyone was a fanboy? If you're a fanboy, listen to me. I'm talking to you now. What if everyone was like you? What if everyone was a sycophantic worshiper of whatever a company did? Let's say enough people everyone who owned a 360 had become a Microsoft fanboy, and they bought the Xbox One in droves, and it was a massive success. Where do you think we would be right now in gaming? Well, first off, there'd be a lot of casual crap built for the Kinect, because it would have sold really well, and you want to pander to an install base. Well, everyone's got that frickin' Kinect on the Xbox One that all these fanboys went out and bought. So, getting a lot of garbage. And then why do you think that you don't have to pay a fee when you buy a used game in order to play it online? Why do you think that is? Because that was announced. That was a plan as part of the Xbox One. Oh, because enough people said, screw you, and didn't buy Xboxes. And even though Microsoft tried to backpedal, it was too late. It was too late. Enough people saw that and were like, that's anti-consumer BS. I'm not participating in it. But imagine if people hadn't responded negatively. Imagine if everyone was a fanboy and just said, oh my gosh, they're the best. Of course we're going to buy it in spite of this. Imagine. Well, then, I guess Sony would have looked at that and said, well, I mean, it does make sense financially for us to do this, right? Because it does. It does make sense from a financial standpoint to say, hey, oh, you bought a game used? We didn't make any money off that sale, but good news. $10, you can get access to the online stuff off of that used game called. I mean, there's no reason not to. Everyone bowed down and worshipped at Microsoft's feet. You know, in this fantasy world where everyone was a fanboy, everyone bought it in spite of the fact that it was a very bad deal. And it was successful. And that sends a message to other companies like Sony that, hey, this is acceptable business practices. Microsoft made money doing it, so there's no reason you shouldn't. And, you know, Sony starts doing it. What are you going to do? You're going to complain that Sony's doing it? Well, Xbox is getting away with it, so why not do it? Right? Why not? And that's the problem I have with fanboys, is that they will ignore the faults in a company, because that's why you criticize faults. It's not like you get some sort of sycophantic joy. I mean, sometimes you can. Certainly. Sometimes you can get quite a bit of joy making fun of the flaws in something. I get a lot of humor making fun of the flaws in Disney Star Wars. But why do you do it? What's the ultimate end goal? Well, the ultimate end goal is to improve the product. I don't want Star Wars to suck. I want Star Wars to be good again. I want to hashtag make Star Wars good again. And I'm just saying, you know, if Donald Trump is allowed to direct the next episode, we might actually... No, as a joke. But you get the idea. You criticize it because you want to make it better, and when you're a fanboy to the point where you won't even allow other people to criticize it without getting your panties in a twist, then criticism never happens, and no one ever learns any lessons. And I'm sick of this idea that a multi-billion-dollar company doesn't need to learn lessons, because it's been proven time and time again that they do. Because sometimes, just because they have a lot of money as a company, that doesn't mean they know what they're doing. Nintendo made the Wii U. If that's not proof that sometimes companies don't know what they're doing, then what more proof do you need? The Wii U wasn't a bad system, but it wasn't good either, and it was so poorly marketed. Like, I've heard people say, you need to criticize the company's marketing. They pay people a lot of money for it. Well, they should ask for a refund. You ever watch a commercial for that system? They're terrible. And the point I'm getting at is, if you like something, you will allow genuine criticism of it, and you will yourself engage in that genuine criticism. I want things to be better. I criticized the cost of NVIDIA cards at launch, the 2000 series. And I now heavily criticize the way they marketed the 3000 series. Having seen actual results, I think we might have talked about this in a previous episode. I might get a 3080. I might not. I don't think I'm going to. Having seen what the upgrade is between the 3080 and the 2080, it's not much of one. Not really. I mean, RTX performance has improved in a couple of titles, but I don't care. So I'm going to either wait for a 3080 Ti or maybe, the 4000 series. Yeah, that'll come out in a couple of years at the most. Or maybe AMD will finally bring something worthwhile that can't even say it. Oh boy, we need to go. We need to not be down here. That looks scary. But it's possible that, AMD might do something worthwhile, and I want to have that money on hand. I'm not going to spend money on something that's a meager upgrade. I'm going to criticize them for the way that they advertise the updates and the upgrades and the charts that they use and the way that they formatted those charts. I am not a fanboy of NVIDIA. I am a fan of fast graphics, and I appreciate the fact that NVIDIA, at the very least, is pushing that forward when AMD can't seem to be bothered or can't figure out how, or I don't know what their problem is. I don't know what they're doing. They seem to be very inept at the moment. They're multi-billion company. Yeah, they make great CPUs. They can't get the Radeon group in gear to do anything successfully. But I mean, hopefully that changes. Hopefully. Because we need competition in the space. My point is, don't be a fanboy. Don't. I love the Nintendo Switch. I absolutely love it. But it is underpowered. And it was released underpowered. I love the Nintendo Switch. And if a game is available on it, I will almost always choose that version, because I prefer to play the games on the go. But it is an underpowered system. The X1, the Tegra X1, was weak and old in 2017. That chip came out, 2015? It's an old chip. Compare that to the new systems that are coming out, the PS5 and the Series X and the Series S. Those are all based on Ryzen 2 Zen 2, so Ryzen 3 processors. That's a new architecture. Now, it came out last year, late at the end of last year, late 20, I think late. Pretty sure it came out late 2019. And Zen 3 is right around the corner, but it's still newer than a 2015 chip being in a 2017 console in the year 2020. Now, to be fair, they do have a newer chip in the Switch Lite and the remodeled Switch, but really, even though it is capable of more power, all they're doing with it is pushing for lower thermals and lower power consumption, which is fine. It's admirable. People want to play their Switch on the go. Low power consumption's great, but really, it is underpowered. And I wish Nintendo would release a more powerful system. It's not perfect. The Switch is not perfect. Again, I love it. Wouldn't say I'm a fanboy of it, but I love the Switch. I'm still going to criticize it because I want it to be better. I want the Switch to be better. Therefore, I'm not going to just stand around and be like, no, you can't say anything bad about the Switch. It's a perfect console. It's not. It's just plainly and simply not a perfect system. And if you love something, you'll be willing to critique it. You see this a lot with young couples. This is going to be a bit weird. We're going to some strange places today. But young couples tend to idolize one another to a point where they don't see the flaws in one another. And it can only go on so long. You can only live in a fantasy world like that for a while before eventually you start to crack. And when that happens, that's usually when people break up. And it might not be that they're wrong for each other. It might not be that they have any genuine issues in their relationship. It's just that they've had this imaginary version of each other in their heads for so long, and they're finally being forced to come up with to face the reality of it, and they're pissed about it. And you see that a lot also with fanboys. When finally something is done that pisses them off, they go berserk. They start sending death threats, and it's like, it's not that big of an issue. I'm glad you're finally not letting them run over you, but you've gone too far in the other direction. And if you didn't idolize this multi-million-dollar corporation and pretend like they were perfect for the last few years, this most recent development wouldn't hit you so hard. But it's like they're finally getting a taste of reality. And anyway, I bring all this up to say I've seen a lot of people fanboying recently over, fanboy flame wars, the Xbox Series X, the Series S, the PS4. And it's just stupid. These systems aren't even out yet. There will be one that is objectively better. There is every generation. But so much of what makes these things good to an individual is exactly that. It's individual taste and preference, We talked about this before. Sony, in my opinion, Sony does have better, or certainly more higher quality first-party exclusives. But that only matters if you care about those games. If you don't care about Uncharted, then you don't care that PlayStation's got Uncharted. If Ratchet & Clank isn't your cup of tea, then you don't care that Ratchet & Clank Portals of Doom, or whatever the heck it's called, is... I say it dismissively like I don't care. I'm going to play that game. Because I like the first one, the 2016 Ratchet & Clank. Was it 2016? I think so. But you get my point. If you don't care, then you don't care. And you can't make the argument that the PS4 is better for everyone just because you like the exclusives on it. My favorite exclusives are on the Switch. And I think if you don't like those games, then you're a big dummy doo-doo. But I also acknowledge that just because I think they're the best games, I love Zelda, I love Mario, that doesn't make the system objectively the best. There's always going to be, this generation, Microsoft's not doing too hot. I got news for you, though. A lot of people don't like to hear it, but the Xbox One X is the most powerful console to date. It won't be in a month, but it is right now. So, if you want to look at which system is objectively better, it's that one. It is objectively more powerful than any system before it. And I think that, we don't really know between the PS5 and the Series X, but I think the Series X is going to end up being more raw power. If that matters to you, objectively it might be more powerful, but on a subjective level, do you care? Is that the sort of thing you look for in a console? If not, then it's not going to matter to you. Just don't. I don't know. My nose is stopped up, by the way. I have a cold. This has all given me a cold. I can't really claim that these things are related, but I'm going to. I don't have the Rona. Although it is fun that we now live in a world where, a year ago on this exact date, no one would have batted an eye if I had a cold. But we now live in a world where people are so paranoid and conditioned to just live in fear, unnecessary amounts of ridiculous fear, that, I walk into a room and they're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Oh my god, do you have the Rona? Am I gonna die? Are you gonna die? Are you gonna kill everyone here? No. No, I'm not. I hope I do, though. Because you're so full of fear that the world would be better off without you, you coward! No, the point is... Well, the point there is just that it's ridiculous. We live in a world where everyone's so paranoid about that. A person walks in with... I've had pretty bad allergies over the year, too. And anytime you have the sniffles, you walk into a place like, whoa! Whoa, now hold on now! Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Huh. Isn't this just my regular old... Wait a... Oh. Wait, yeah, I've been down here before. I think we've just tapped into... something here. Oh, wait a second. What? I'm so confused about where I am now, and I don't know how to get back. What? Oh my gosh! My mining network connected up to my other mining network. How about that? Get rid of some of that. We got too much of this. I was going to use all the cobblestone for building random monuments to our mining efforts. But we still haven't found, by the way, melon seeds. I believe that's what we're looking for. I think we're going to have to give up our dream of magnum torches. We could just put a bunch of regular torches all over the place. Why don't we just do that? Do we have the F7 button? I mean, I know it's on my keyboard. Yeah. We can just fly around the overworld and put down a bunch of lights everywhere until there's no more red squares. How about that? It seems so dumb. Why are melons the one thing we're in desperate need of? Oh my gosh. This is so painful. You know how sometimes I can go outside? Hold on, I had an idea. Let's go to sleep. Sometimes you can go outside and the world won't load, and maybe I can just look down and I can see a mine shaft. See if that works.